on zero-point energy and consciousness. Note: this is a compilation of my comments about the subject matter. When people speak of tapping into zero-point energy, they are talking about unlimited energy as a fuel source, much in the sense that nuclear fusion and antimatter are fuel sources, albeit unlimited. If I could tap into the zero-point energy of the universe, I would develop an all-powerful perpetual motion robot to do my bidding, for the greater good, of course. Some people think, however, that because zero-point energy consists of vacuum fluctuation wavelengths less than a Planck length, and because it is thereby physically unmeasurable due to the quantum uncertainty principle, that it might be conscious since it exhibits free chaos will. I don't necessarily draw the conclusion that because vacuum fluctuations are random and unpredictable that they are necessarily conscious, ergo a conclusion that God exists so easily. At least extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Oddly enough, some people use the argument that because zero-point energy is conscious, assuming it even exists and can be tapped into, that it would be immoral to harness it and use it for purposes of technology. They view it as an enslavement of nature, which is a completely bizarre philosophical viewpoint. Some people go so far as to claim that zero-point energy is not only conscious and all-powerful, but it is actually God too, yet another extraordinary claim that has never been experimentally demonstrated though. So what is freedom and enslavement anyhow? Or better yet, philosophically speaking, aren't all conscious minds simultaneously enslaved and also free to varying degrees and corresponding to different aspects? In my view, freedom only really exists for those who are self-sufficient and independent of external influences, in the sense those whom are free have discovered some means by which to employ nature to do all the work for them. Throughout history, humans have done just that by way of technological innovations. They have developed machines and computers, engines and motors that do their bidding. In my view, all consciousness that exists is a result of function and chance, and has evolved to dominate and form nature to its will, not the other way round. Conscious entities, particularly those that have evolved a manner of intelligence, ought not be afraid of nature, but rather they ought to understand nature and conquer her processes. It does mankind no good, for instance, to look at a lightning bolt and grow terrified for lack of understanding, or to look at fire and then to run in fear of it, but rather what makes humanity intelligent is that we employ such mechanisms to do work for us. The seemingly random processes of nature and the intrinsic indeterminability of the past and unpredictability of the future due to uncertainties in measuring the exact state of being ought not be something that is worshipped by conscious intelligences, but rather something to be harnessed and enjoyed. In addition to the processes of nature, what also needs to be conquered by intelligences is their own conscious minds. Conscious minds possess free chaos will just like everything else in the universe, thereby making the future indeterminate until it has been determined. If intelligent minds are moral, if they seek to create and improve the world, then they will ensure that their collective and individual lives thrive. However, if they neglect to create and improve the world, or if they try to destroy the world, then they will stagnate and possibly even bring about their own demise. Love and fear are also mechanisms employed by conscious minds. Intelligent-minded individuals must use their emotions appropriately lest they wreak destruction on the intricate complexities and relationships in nature rather than using them to improve upon and strengthen her very existence. For example, fire is a lovely chemical reaction when used properly for cooking or heating and also for purifying water or generating electricity. However, people shouldn't necessarily use that same process for destructive means, such as to burn down a house that others put a lot of time and effort into creating, for instance. For the love of destruction leads to the demise of civilization, whereas the love of creation leads to the everlasting rise and existence of it. All of civilization is consciousness manifested. Although it would appear to violate the conservation laws as we know them, perhaps everything in the universe came into existence from the processes of zero-point energy being released into the vacuum of space. Although zero-point energy is not necessary for the formation of matter and energy to have occurred in our universe, since vacuum energy suffices to explain their perpetual existence of neither being created or destroyed. However, the idea that the universe may have infinite zero-point energy density within the vacuum fluctuations, which hasn't been experimentally demonstrated, isn't necessarily theoretically impossible yet either. The possibility that the sun will never run out of energy, that stars could burn for eternity, that your car could drive indefinitely on non-consumable fuel sources given that there was some mechanism to tap and utilize the zero-point energy of the universe is quite alluring, however not a necessary requirement for a perpetual existence nonetheless. The idea that zero-point energy is infinitely dense would demonstrate that energy would not only be a conserved quantity but also that it could be possible to create and dissipate it indefinitely as well. I have my own theory called infinite universe model that doesn't necessarily invoke zero-point energy, however it could easily do so if it were experimentally demonstrated that the zero-point energy actually exists and manifests as a naturally occurring process. I'm not denying its existence, however I will remain skeptical until it gets implemented into technologies though, assuming it ever actually will. If people think the other field is conscious, perhaps even experiences emotions such as love and hate like a conscious mind, that is another bold claim that I fail to understand and also I'm quite skeptical of as well. I have an open mind. I'm open to the possibility of it, however I don't know that it's necessarily the case, although the speculation about that is fascinating. Nobody really knows what CERN will ultimately discover someday, given their intense particle collisions. Perhaps the folks over at CERN will ultimately discover something that will allow me to build my perpetual motion robot though.